right now, and that was a beautiful upside down Warhammer, kind of something that all these teams will be loving to come out here, lift it. Okay, so Doomhammer, yes, okay.
You play WoW?
I play WoW, and I forget, I mess words up.
Thrall's been gone not that long, and you've already forgotten.
Dude, I was watching the cinematic with Thrall recently, and it was absolutely beautiful. Anyways,
he's coming back.
Yes, aside.
Spoiler.
Yeah,
he's pretty
calm down there. I haven't
now
seen anything from that just yet. Okay, let's get on to the series, because this is an exciting one. We've got the boys going up against Super Frogs, Elimination series for both of these teams. And on top of that, if Cloud9 actually wins this, they've already qualified to BlizzCon. Method Orange will actually be watching this very closely, because if you come 5th in the tournament, the difference between 5th and 1st on points is 80 points, and the current gap between Method Orange and the boys is 140, so that would be over half of that gap already justified and filled by Method Orange should they be able to win it. So this is a really big opportunity for Method Orange, and the boys need to really show up here.
Yeah, and the best case scenario for Method Orange here would of course be Cloud9 beating the boys, and then I do believe that it's going to be Mew Mew Kitty Cats versus Method Orange, who beat Cloud9. So if they can win that series and send the Mew Mew Kitty Cats down here,
this is what I wanted to see.
That's it.
Wizards of Waverly Place.
This is what I thought would win against Cloud9, and we'll have to see if it actually ends up working. Is Smexen bringing in that Elemental Shaman, the extra bit of spice that will be nice, the boys really need?
Okay, there we go. He changed. I was going to say Thorns would be a pretty
thorn in his side.
Bad talent to take in a Wizard matchup. Thorns only benefiting against melee damage dealers. Cubsy jumping in right away, but actually gets stunned up by Gorecki. Smexen trying to set up some damage. Lightning Lasso, good punish on Cubsy so far for his overextended position. Maybe they just kill him in the opener if they catch him out totally off guard. Thugonomics gets stalled out. Chanimal now looks to reverse. Cubsy is stabilized. It's Chanimal in the driver's seat with his Infernals activated. Thugonomics may look to retreat, although boldly playing at center field. Feared awkwardly actually away from Chanimal. Chanimal would have much preferred Thugonomics feared into the middle of the map. A bit unlucky. Thugonomics now trying to get a bolt. Wealthy Man blinks away from it. Good reaction time there. Cubsy poking Thugonomics. Both Warlocks unable to really get any Chaos Bolts off during their Infernals. Thugonomics sets up with a Fear. He's trying to bait and interrupt on Fear so that he can cast Chaos Bolt. Nether Ward available. Now out of the way. Thugonomics not able to get any Chaos Bolts with his Dark Soul. Chanimal still has his. They're actually attacking Cubsy pretty much every Lightning Lasso. That could be a big opening. Gorecki also being attacked, although less stuns available overall for Cloud9's composition. Perhaps if the boys can continue switching to Cubsy, they will eventually find a kill.
Yeah, out of all the Druids in North America right now, I'd have to say Gorecki and Cubsy have been a cut above the rest in terms of their Feral Affinity gameplay. So I'm interested to see which one of these Druids is able to get ahead, get out more damage in the matchup. It's also kind of an interesting dynamic here between Thugonomics and Chanimal. We know Chanimal is one of the best Warlocks in the North American region, of course, coming from Australia. And then, of course, you have Thugonomics on the Destruction Warlock, specifically where he has been holding it down for years and years, it feels like. We'll have to see which one of them can come out ahead in this matchup.
Double Mortal Coil from Thugonomics with Lightning Lasso. Big setup attempt, but no damage, unfortunately. Wealthy Man playing at the pillar quite effectively, avoiding a lot of damage. The positioning of Cloud9 is perfect. Smexen and Thugonomics dipping low in this position, but Gorecki is there. He's looking like he wants to stop Cubsy from drinking, though, so he's leaving his team behind to stop Cubsy. Wealthy Man had to exchange some health, but to return full mana, that's more than good. Chanimal now stunned up, bursted by Smexen, but recovering. No real openings right now for either team. Wealthy Man line of sighting immediately after getting bursted by Smexen. Really want to see some coordinated stun locks by the team of the boys. Lightning Lasso, double Mortal Coil, something along these lines. They Mortal Coil Cubsy to set up on him. Big Earth Shock from Smexen. Cubsy needs to be careful. He's spending a lot of time in enemy territory. Decides to use Iron Bark on himself, as he can use Barkskin when he's stunned, and he's anticipating being the target for some time. It's wiser to use the Iron Bark rather than Barkskin at this point. Now he can also be more aggressive with its defense activated. Although having committed that, now it's not available for Wealthy Man, so if Wealthy Man is not careful, he may need to Ice Block. Smexen's having a difficult time just connecting at the moment, though. Gorecki jumping back to the pillar, doesn't want to be out in midfield too long with Chanimal waiting. Cubsy now moving in. Gorecki being smacked by Cubsy. Triple Shadow Fury out from Chanimal. Could be devastating.
Whoa!
Huge pressure. No defense for one more second. Gorecki barely holding on.
That does manage to sneak away at the cost of his Trinket and Iron Bark. Mana relatively even for both Druids. Smexon going to be retreating with Gorecki, moving across the map. They've left Thugonomics behind, though. He's caught up in snares, caught up in Novas. Chanimal, can he get any damage out? A beautiful double Mortal Coil comes in. The Unending Resolve traded out as well from Thugonomics. Gets feared up by Chanimal. Good denial on any sort of damage. Didn't want to allow Thugonomics to get full value out of that cooldown, but getting off uninterruptible Chaos Bolt, so Fear was a great choice to really slow that down.
Ooh, Infernals from Chanimal. All three members of the boys in a lot of trouble right now, but they're actually going for a kill on Cubsy. They're very low in health. Can they kill him before they die themselves? They don't get it. Now Cubsy is just smacking him, sitting on top of all three players. And just look at the pressure. This is so unexpected from the Mage Warlock, which you anticipate to win off crowd control, but they're just winning on pressure. Another Restel stun, everyone in trouble. Gorecki Polymorph fortunately breaks early, able to save Thugonomics as a result. Smexon holding on by a thread. Astral Shift has to be committed on top of basically the entire defensive lineup of the boys. Smexon is still low. Shadow Fury from Chanimal. These are high value Infernals from Chanimal. It's blowing out the entire defensive lineup of the boys.
Yeah, and all three members of the boys still in a little bit of trouble. Thugonomics, although he has great hit points right now, no defensive cooldowns left to really work with. Thugonomics trying to get some counter pressure here with the Chaos Bolt onto Wealthy Man, but Wealthy Man has just been eating all of these Chaos Bolts with little regard. Has both of his Ice Blocks still available in this match. Smexon getting low in midfield. Cubsy all over him. Is he going to be able to take him down? Big damage, nice grounding totem on that Gladiator's Maledict. Able to soak up that effect. Gorecki finally moving over with a little bit of backup. Mana now, I believe, in favor of Cubsy quite heavily, in fact, so Cloud9 has that advantage moving forward.
Cloud9 looking unstoppable, except for against the Mew Mew Kitty Cats. That is perhaps the only team in the game right now to be able to beat Cloud9, looking at the way that this one is going on in the Grand Arena against the boys. Curious to see if they change their composition moving forward, although this may just be their best option. But if this is their best option, they're just getting trounced constantly. All three members low on health, and Gorecki has to expend so much mana healing. He can't get any time to get aggressive in cat form, and then Cubsy further snowballs it. Thugonomics is trying to carry the team in his back pocket by switching to Cubsy on his own. Gets some pressure, but Cubsy doesn't even care. He's just smacking Thugonomics standing in front of him. Just kind of bad manner, saying there's no way I'm going down to you, and just continuing to build more momentum for the team. Perhaps maybe a little bit of overconfidence could cost them the game, but when you're at such a lead in terms of cooldowns and mana, I don't really blame Cubsy to just try and maximize his damage at this point.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't blame him. Wealthy Man still getting a little bit lower. Is he going to have to finally use one of his Ice Blocks? Honestly, I thought the boys would have more pressure in this matchup, but Cloud9, they just play such a hyper-aggressive strategy that they sort of force their opponents into this very defensive position. Thugonomics has just been running away. Gorecki now getting targeted down. Cubsy once again in his face, just getting out all kinds of pressure, and the boys are falling apart. Beautiful Shadow Fury coming in from Chanimal. Thugonomics needs a big Chaos Bolt, trying to get out of line of sight, but he cannot run away from Cubsy. Unending Resolve gets traded out. They need counter pressure, and they need it now, but they're not going to be able to find it. Infernal stun into a Shadow Fury. Thugonomics barely holding on, but Gorecki gets interrupted. Cloud9 walking all over the boys, and I did not expect this matchup to play out this way.
Wow, that was really incredible. Cloud9, this is what a lot of us thought might be the counter matchup into the Mage Lock Druid. The boys really good at these classes. You know, it's Gorecki on Druid, Smexon on Elemental, and Thugonomics on Destruction Warlock. There's nothing you would take away from these guys, but Cloud9 completely dominant.
So much pressure from Cloud9, honestly, and I'm not sure, because on paper you have more interrupts, you have more burst, you have such a strong composition, you have more off healing as well when you play the Lock Druid and Ellie Shaman, but that wasn't at all the execution here. Consistently, we saw Chanimal and Wealthy Man kind of taking one side each on the pillar, and whenever they were both topped off, Cubsy would just go in on his cat form like he's doing it right here and just start doing damage. I feel like they set up so many good swaps as well, like this one onto Gorecki here. It's pretty much just Cubsy and Wealthy Man here soloing Gorecki, and that's just gonna make Thugonomics fall so much further behind as well, because Gorecki has to heal himself, and then of course his Chanimal on the side of your screen right now. You can't really see him, but he is sniping away with Chaos Bolts as well. Comes in with the Mortal Coil, and Wealthy Man, this guy has been on point with the counterspells every single time they land kills. It's at the back of his counterspells. Such a phenomenal job throughout the day, and they secure the game. On paper, I thought as a mage, you're not really going to be able to do anything there. There's so many interrupts. There's so much burst that can just kill you before you can even ice block. You know, I really didn't expect it to go this way.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. I'd be super curious to know the damage numbers in that game because it really did feel like Cloud9 had complete control over that one. They even had a mana lead because Cubsy was just able to go in kitty cat form, do damage the entire game. They had so much control over the game, and it is kind of counter to some of the stuff we saw at the Spring Finals, right? Because the only teams that really were beating this composition were some of the elemental teams, and the way they were doing it was just by locking out the mage and then trying to one-shot him with an Earthshock or something like that. But here, Smexin, as good at elemental as ever, you would have thought, but I mean, Cloud9 just better.
Yeah, Cloud9, their hyper-aggressive strategy. And the one thing I really like about Cloud9, especially with how they've been playing, you know, in the Spring Finals and here today, is they are just willing to go on anyone at any time. You know, it doesn't seem like they're following any particular script. They just take advantage of opportunities that come their way, try to get out as much damage as possible. And with that damage, they always find these short kill windows off the back of a really nice timed counter spell. They're not afraid to hold on or just use their offensive cooldowns right away. You know, Wealthy Man is going to be using that Icy Veins right away to get that pressure rolling, and that way Icy Veins rolls up. You know, in 3 minutes he has it again, and they can just keep up that pressure, keep up that momentum throughout the game, and it's been working out beautifully for them.
Yep, so the boys actually going to swap off of the composition. They're going to try the Destruction Windwalker, bringing Chun-Li back in, who I think is actually undefeated for them today.
I mean, at this point...
Yeah, undefeated, but they lost the series, so I don't know how much that's true.
Well, maybe he comes in.
He won one game today. It's looking good.
Well, he played
the entire summer season.
In the spring season, Chun-Li played in over 90% of the boys' games, and the boys
It's like when
fantastic.
Casca played one game and lost.
Yeah, but the difference is he played one game the entire season, right, or the entire year. Chun-Li has actually been instrumental to these guys, was more my point. Do you think he'll be enough to... I mean, I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I feel like Chun-Li is definitely the X factor for the boys.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, Chun-Li on Windwalker Monk, I feel like he really is a cut up above the rest. I mean, now with Trill on the rise, there might be some contention there, but the thing is, the boys with Chun-Li, that always seems to be where the magic lies. When we see Thugonomics and Smexin together, you don't see that same sort of magic, that same sort of potential. At least we haven't seen it so far. So I think bringing in that all-star player of Chun-Li to sort of really help the roster, because he's one of those players similar to, you know, a Waz or a Chanimal, where they're constantly talking about what's going on in the game, what is their win condition, who's got what, when, just a very vocal, you know, intelligent player. And having that on your roster and in the game, I think it's just a major asset for them.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where we talk about players multi-classing quite a lot. It's a huge thing in Battle for Azeroth. One of our biggest criticisms of someone is like, why can't you play this? Why can't you play that? But here we have a situation where, you know, it's not just another Death Knight or something like this. These are the players that really are the best. Lots of people have tried to reroll Mage Lock Druid. They haven't been as good as Cloud9. Lots of people have tried to reroll Windwalker, and Chun-Li has been a cut above them so far from what we've seen. And bringing in someone like that was more what I point could be instrumental to the boys actually winning, because it has been the secret behind their success.
Honestly, every single time I watch Chun-Li, he does the best out of every single matchup that he's in. He's so good at setting up kills, he's so good at surviving, and he really has been holding it down for the boys. And we're gonna see if it's going to be enough here for Cloud9, for the boys to tie up the series against Cloud9. The Destruction Windwalker composition, another very bursty comp that they can use to try to shut down Wealthy Man, try to set up some kills maybe on Cubsy when he goes super aggressively. We're gonna have to see if Hook Point is the map they can do it on.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're in the lower bracket. Who would have guessed that the boys, #2 in North America, and Cloud9, #1 in North America, would be going head-to-head to eliminate each other so early on in the first cup of the summer season. Tournament lives on the line, and most importantly, maybe potentially a point-earning spot at BlizzCon on the line if the boys are eliminated so soon. Method Orange have a big opportunity. Pressure on Chun-Li right off the bat.
Yeah, Chun-Li under fire in Immortal Coil. Gorecki looking to deflect that with the Iron Bark. Nice double leg sweep coming in from Chun-Li, getting some pressure rolling for his team. What is Thugonomics going to be able to do? In the last game, he got bullied quite a bit by Wealthy Man, by Chanimal. Wasn't able to get out as many Chaos Bolts, as much damage as we normally see. But now with Chun-Li moving in, soaking up some of that damage, soaking up some of that, you know, disables that Chanimal and Wealthy Man really are going to be able to put out in this matchup. It will free up Thugonomics quite a bit. Let's have to see how much damage he really can get out.
Wealthy Man falling a bit behind here. Chun-Li carrying the team, going for a touch of death. So they need to crowd control Chun-Li or trade a cooldown. Iron Bark, they're relying on that for now. It may not be enough. That was a huge hit. Baldyman's going to ice block at the same time. So a bit of an overlap, but a high value play from Chun-Li.
Yeah, Chun-Li doing some good work, but Thuganomics, these massive Chaos Bolts are what ultimately forced out that first ice block from Wealthy Man. And already, 30 seconds into this game, they were able to accomplish more than we saw with the Elemental Shaman of Smexon. So good pressure initially for the boys. The smaller map certainly helps. That's why they brought in Chun-Li on the smaller map. His uptime is going to be much higher than what you'd see on Tolvaron or in a Grand Arena. So I think it was an intelligent decision to bring in this composition on this particular map. And it has banked them an ice block very early on from Wealthy Man, but have to actually close out the game. It's not enough to just get one ice block. Cloud9 has been playing a lot more passively. I think with the positioning the boys have taken, sort of this triangle formation where Thuganomics is at one pillar, you have Gorecki at one pillar, and Chun-Li in the midfield. They're not going to be able to do that same strategy where they sort of just overrun their opponents with mass, AoE damage with the Frozen Orb, the Blizzard. Chanimals moves in with the double Mortal Coil. It's going to be a little bit different in this particular game. So I think the boys with the positioning have been doing a fantastic job so far.
I will say Chun-Li has credited whenever he's playing on the roster, why'd you pick this roster? And he says just because he likes playing with Thuganomics. So I think it was wise for them to pair up together here for game number 2 after such a poor showing in game number 1 with their Elemental Shaman Destruction Warlock. Like you said, they've already gotten more done in the first minute of the game than they did in the entirety of the last one. Now switching targets to Chanimal, trying to throw Cubsy for a loop, maybe expend more heal over time effects, maybe just get a kill. Chanimal in quite a bit of trouble in midfield. Cubsy being pressured by Gorecki, so Cubsy decides to abandon that position, gate across, recover on the opposing side, but his mana is significantly behind. Strategy and map selection perfect from the boys. Synergy looking solid as well between Chun-Li and Thuganomics. Pressure continues to mount in their favor.
Yeah, Thuganomics just been a turret in this game. He took the initial pillar, got out a lot of damage. Now he's taken over the team of Cloud9's pillar, and he just hasn't really been moving from these spots. Look at him, he's just spamming out Chaos Bolts. Wealthy Man forced to run away. Chanimal in midfield. Chun-Li actually chasing Wealthy Man down. Wants to get out that second ice block if he can. I'm not sure he's going to be able to solo it out with Cubsy right there, but Chun-Li just throwing over a touch of death on Cubsy. Wants to really get this pressure rolling on all 3 members, and you can tell the boys on this composition, they are a lot more comfortable. They're all over the place, sort of freestyling in this matchup. In the last game, we did not see that kind of confidence.
Yeah, we definitely didn't. They're looking solid to take game 2 here, tie it up to lower bracket. Both the teams face elimination, which is still so surprising this early on in the tournament. Cubsy is in stealth. He's sneaking around the map and trying to drink. The boys need to find where he is as soon as possible and stop it. Gorecki knows where he is and he's trying to get there, but Wealthy Man is slowing him down. How much mana did Cubsy ultimately get from that exchange? Perhaps some, but I don't think nearly enough to really win the game off of. He's still significantly behind. Wealthy Man getting Chaos Bolted by Thuganomics. Chanimal trying to Chaos Bolt Chun-Li off. He actually uses Touch of Karma just to redirect damage and stay on target. Wealthy Man's forced to polymorph Chun-Li desperately to recover, but damage is still mounting in favor of the boys. Cubsy has to make a decision to Iron Bark. He chooses not to, but now he's crowd controlled. Wealthy Man's trying to just avoid damage on the outskirts of the map and line of sight Thuganomics in this position, and he should be able to. Cubsy slowly but surely recovering. Gorecki with Thuganomics at the pillar. Gorecki a little bit reluctant to push out and try and get any damage going. Now jumping and crowd controlling Cubsy. If he can get anything out of the bash, perhaps not able to in this position, unfortunately. So the crowd control chain is lost. Wealthy Man should recover. It's Gorecki now who could be in trouble. Infernals have landed. How are they going to get something done here? Thuganomics is trying to Chaos Bolt Chanimal, I could only imagine. Maybe Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man blinking out of line of sight. Now Chanimal looking to reverse. So both Warlocks have activated their most powerful cooldown. They're going to be the most threatening that they can be in the matchup at this moment in time. But Chanimal is the one who is on the back foot.
Yeah, Chanimal having to play a little bit of a line of sight game right now. Thuganomics not able to get out too much damage. It's been good control from Wealthy Man. If we look at mana, Cubsy is way behind in this matchup. If they can just deny those drinks coming in from Cubsy, the boys can secure a massive lead on this map, whereas Gorecki, look at him, he has so much freedom with this position to just sit down. He's going straight to full mana. Cubsy on 10%. The boys in a commanding lead at this point in terms of cooldowns as well as mana. Wealthy Man getting a little bit low as well. He got interrupted on Frost. He has to hold on a little bit longer. Can Chun-Li force out the ice block? Thuganomics gets interrupted by Chanimal. Good backup. Wealthy Man is able to hold on to that second ice block. Cold Snap almost available, so he'll have 3 ice blocks moving forward. Cubsy still not an opportunity to get away quite yet in this game, but he doesn't seem too concerned. He's still playing really aggressive, moving in cat form, trying to generate some damage for his team. Now finally repositioning, and this could be the moment, the defining moment in this game where Cloud9 tries to get back in by allowing Cubsy to get some mana.
All right, Chanimal trying to save Wealthy Man as he was stunned up by Gorecki. Gorecki sees Cubsy sneaking away, and he's trying to stop him. Will he be able to find him is the question. How much mana did he get? Cubsy got at least just a bit to keep this fight going on into dampening. Wealthy Man has survived to the point where that first ice block is now no longer relevant. He will have 2 for the remainder of the match at this point in time. Gorecki still with a significant mana lead. I can't help but feel that these swaps to Cubsy haven't really been paying off. Perhaps if Chun-Li had just been staying on target, Wealthy Man would have already been dead at this point. They still want to go onto the Druid. They're trying to kill Cubsy, but Chanimal is there to deny. Perfect triple Shadow Fury, stalling damage and allowing Cubsy to slip away to safety. Chun-Li and Thugonomics now on the back foot. Chaos Bolt's flying in from Chanimal. But Thugonomics ducks around the corner. Chun-Li sees Cubsy sneaking away. Gorecki does as well, but Gorecki gets snared up on his way to Cubsy. Gorecki needs to stop him. He moonfires him, keeps him in combat, stops the drink. Wealthy Man in a bit of trouble. Ring a piece back into Chun-Li's clutches. Ice block forced. Momentum continuing to carry in favor of the boys. It's looking better and better. I'm trying to see any opportunities for Cloud9, and there really aren't any at this point.
Yeah, this is surprising. I feel like this is a matchup we've seen before, but it definitely definitely did not go this way. The boys, lots of pressure, lots of momentum. Wealthy Man, of course, does have that third ice block that has rotated back up. Cold Snap has come off cooldown. He was able to use it. Now he has one more available. Touch of Death is rolling for Chun-Li with the Fortifying Brew. Big damage on Wealthy Man. What's he gonna do? He gets stunned. Another ice block forced out, and now Cloud9 in a position where Wealthy Man, he does not have another ice block for another 4 minutes. There is a huge window of opportunity. You can see Thugonomics, he has the Infernals, he has the Dark Skull, he has all the tools he needs to close out this game. Are they going to be able to do it? Are they going to be able to tie up this series?
They have to kill Gorecki. He used his Gliders Medallion, pop Infernals, pop Icy Veins, and kill Gorecki. That's all you can do. And as long as Gorecki doesn't put himself in a position where that's possible, then the boys have Cloud9 in checkmate. They've run them out of mana, they've run the mage out of cooldowns, they just need to stay on target. Right now they're actually attacking Chanimal. I mean, they get Unending Resolve, but I feel like can't help but feel the attack would have been better onto Wealthy Man. Perhaps Wealthy Man is just making it too difficult to attack him at that moment in time. Although the boys' positioning is starting to be compromised, they're standing too close to each other. And you can already see the damage sinking into 3 members. They should definitely focus on spreading out a bit, maintaining their position. They're trying to go for the all-in on Gorecki. This is their only chance. They have to kill him 100-0. If they can do it, they're going to win. But if they can't, they're going to lose. Seconds away from being able to finish him off. They have to take him down. They don't do it. He survives, and now Wealthy Man in a lot of trouble. Chaos Bolt's flying over. Wealthy Man in desperation to hold out. Manages to hold on for now. Cloud9 don't get the kill. If perhaps they can stay alive, they could get one more swing at Gorecki, but it's not going to pack that much punch.
What a tense moment for both teams. Wealthy Man was just caught in a stun. He wanted to get out just a little bit more damage, but Chun-Li denied him with a nice leg sweep, and as a result, Gorecki does manage to survive, and the boys managed to stay ahead. As we were saying, that was the one opportunity, one shot that Cloud9 really had to take down Gorecki and take down the boys. Now I'm not sure where their opening is, really. They committed a lot to that offense. Wealthy Man still no ice block for another 3 minutes. Boys have Touch of Death rolling out. There's a lot of damage available with that cooldown, and if they can do it, they might be able to take Wealthy Man down. But in the meantime, Cubsy actually getting swapped to. Touch of Death committed. Rake Stun comes in. Big damage. Cubsy trying to survive, but good night. Chun-Li with the leg sweep to Touch of Death does manage to secure the kill and tie up the series. And that matchup actually looked really good for the boys, but I can't help but feel it was just because of that smaller map.
Yeah, I mean, potentially it's the map, but either way, the boys actually dent the armor in, and otherwise unbeatable looking Cloud9. They've been looking absolutely fantastic. Obviously, the boys were at the spring finals, so maybe this is a matchup we could have seen there if the bracket had looked at all different. But now we have a tied series on our hands, ladies and gentlemen. The boys with that fantastic win, bringing in Chun-Li.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, Chun-Li again being so important in this matchup. We saw that swap there to Gorecki. I really thought Gorecki's done, but Chun-Li came in with the leg sweep in the nick of time here, saving Gorecki by locking down Wealthy Man, and then of course also setting up for the kill here with Thugonomics towards the end of this match. Again, Chun-Li is just everywhere he needs to be at the right time, always. This guy is so good, and I feel like the matchup isn't too bad, but the map definitely makes it easy for him to kind of go back and forth and balance offense and defense and helping his teammates out when he needs to. So if they pick this composition on a larger map, that could potentially be a problem. Maybe they should lock the Ellie and the Warlock again, and then swap back over to this on a smaller map. But this was the kill here, of course. Cubsy has no cooldowns available whatsoever, gets feared up, and then swap to with that bash into the rake stun there as well. Nicely done there by Gorecki, setting his team up for that. And that's it, 1-1.
Yeah, 1-1 is the score, tied up now. And I mean, honestly, it felt like the kind of strategy of the Windwalk and the Destro was actually very similar to what we would have expected from Elemental Destro. Both of them, just goal is to shut down Wealthy Man and get pressure onto him. And why do you think it worked better here with Chun-Li on the Windwalker?
It feels like this is well, we know that this is a composition that they played in the past. I feel like this is something that they've practiced a lot more. They just look more comfortable here. I mean, I know Smexon is really good on the Ellie Shaman, but at the same time, it feels like maybe they haven't had as many reps with Ellie together with the Warlock, figuring out the strategies, whereas Cloud9, they've been playing Mage Warlock all day long, you know, for how many months now. So it feels like when it comes down to these Wizard Mirrors, more often than not, they're going to have the experience needed to deal with these comps that people throw at them.
Yep, well, the boys are able to tie up the series here, 1-1, Cloud9. Will they be forced off the Mage Lock Druid? There can be no hesitation. We want to dive straight into the game here. Game 3 between the boys and Cloud9, the #1 and the #2 teams from the spring season in North America.
Yeah, and here is the big question. Can the boys repeat their success in game #2 on a larger map like Tolvaron Arena? This is certainly going to be their worst map, but if they can find victory here, I mean, this is going to be looking very good for the boys, as I don't really think Cloud9 has a better answer to this composition.
On this map, it's going to be a lot more difficult for Chun-Li. He was kind of the MVP for the boys, setting up all the kills and all the opportunities. But if he is pulled into a bad position, and Tolvaron has a lot of those, he could easily become the greatest strength, or go from the greatest strength to the greatest weakness of the team on Tolvaron, which means that Cloud9 would move to match point and eliminate the boys from the tournament, and that then gives Method Orange an opportunity to catch them in points and possibly steal away their qualification to BlizzCon.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely what Cloud9 is going to go after in this matchup. I want to still have a really great showing in this tournament. Obviously, I mean, they've already qualified to BlizzCon based off their performance in the spring finals. They were able to get the first place finish, and they are the team to beat right now. The boys definitely have their work cut out for them. What is Chun-Li, Gorecki, and Thugonomics going to be able to get done here in game #3 is the question. Chun-Li putting some pressure over on the Chanimal. We saw in game #2 the sort of bounce between all three targets. They were able to get 3 ice blocks from Wealthy Man, lots of damage over on the Chanimal, including getting out against Unending Resolve. Ultimately, it was Cubsy that fell on a big swap, so the boys have a lot of options in this matchup, kind of just going after whoever Thugonomics can get that damage off. You can see him positioned very far away, just acting as sort of a turret for his team, spamming out the Incinerates, spamming out the Chaos Bolts, really just trying to find some damage.
Yeah, they've got Chun-Li positioned at the entrance to the starting room. Curious if they drag him any further into the corner or not. Currently happy to have him here, I suppose. Chanimal getting switched to by Chun-Li. Doesn't want to overextend too much. Decent pressure so far on the Chanimal, but no significant mana advantage just yet. Nether Ward from Chanimal, sending that Chaos Bolt right back at Thugonomics. Good timing by both Warlocks in this matchup with their Nether Wards, hitting some very powerful spells with them. Thugonomics smartly banishing the Fell Hunter, Chanimal as well. So if the Fell Hunter, the demonic pet of the Warlock, is banished or crowd controlled, you cannot use Spell Lock, which can interrupt Chaos Bolts. So both of the Warlocks are frequently looking to banish the Fell Hunters, then cast their most important spells. So you either interrupt that banish, which then later you can't stop Chaos Bolt, or if you don't interrupt the banish, you can cast Chaos Bolt. So the highest level of play from the Warlocks, as would be expected between veterans, BlizzCon champion Chanimal, and veterans like Thugonomics, of course, here in the matchup. It's still so surprising to see them in the lower bracket facing elimination against each other.
Yeah, it definitely is. Chun-Li and Wealthy Man in midfield right now, trying to get some damage rolling. Wealthy Man blinks away, trying to overextend Chun-Li. That's the main vulnerability for the boys, is the fact that Chun-Li is on the Windwalker Monk. If he gets dragged into an unideal position, they can take advantage of that. Channel Wealthy Man can get out a lot of consistent damage. On this map also, it's going to be a lot easier for Cubsy to sneak away, get drinks, recover his mana, and that's something that definitely came into play in game number 2.
Wealthy Man is under a bit of pressure. Surprising to not see Ironbark committed during that assault. Crowd control alone should be enough. Chun-Li switches targets. Thugonomics backs him up. Chaos Bolt flies in, connects to Chanimal. Gorecki is crossing midfield, looking like he wants to push onto Cubsy for crowd control. Believe Cubsy sees him. He's trying to avoid him. Will he be able to land the stun lock? Cubsy gets paralysis. That sets up Gorecki to move in. Gets the bash for follow-up, but Chun-Li can't connect. He's crowd controlled far too much. Can't do any damage with that little attempt onto Cubsy. Chun-Li getting Frost Nova instantly on his Flying Serpent kick. He's then going to just switch targets to Wealthy Man, start flying out some Fists of Fury. Gorecki has given up his aggressive positioning, going back to the pillar with Thugonomics, not wanting to get swapped to. Obviously, likely tracking the Infernals with Thugonomics whenever those are available. Gorecki is always positioned in the best place to survive, as that is definitely a win condition for Cloud9 on this map. If they can get Gorecki in a good spot, blow him up in a stun lock. So Gorecki's going to be waiting patiently for Chanimal to commit those Infernals before making a move. Although, as I say that, maybe looking across, Cloud9 they've just got them in a position where they have to push forward. So the boys move in as a unit together, trying to collapse onto Wealthy Man. Gorecki needs to slip around the corners and avoid being stacked up with his team at all costs. Infernal's not called in just yet. Both Warlocks playing it patiently.
Yeah, both Warlocks holding on to the defensive cooldowns. Chanimal, Cubsy positioned at the pillar right now. Thugonomics, Gorecki as well. Sort of a mirror match. Wealthy Man in the open with Chun-Li, but Chun-Li's just getting caught into a lot of crowd control. Big burst setup here on Gorecki. And Sebastian, the Mortal Coil, what is he going to be able to do? Does manage to escape. Beautiful spell lock coming in from Thugonomics. Great backup from that Destruction Warlock, keeping Gorecki alive. Really didn't have to use too many cooldowns there. Gorecki moving in, gets the bash done over onto Cubsy. Gorecki now throwing over his Gladiator's Maledict onto Cubsy as well. There's a bit of an interesting choice. Cubsy does manage to just Shadow Meld it and get away. Now, across the map, he's going to be looking to recover his precious mana. And knowing that, Chun-Li, he wants to get aggressive on Chanimal, punish Cubsy. They might be able to get the unending resolve. They do. They might be able to get more. If they can get crowd control on Cubsy, Chanimal could easily fall. Yeah, at any moment here, unending resolve is over. Infernals have landed for both sides. Ironbark needs to be enough, but the question is, will it be enough? Chanimal holds out, now goes for a double Mortal Coil of his own, looking to set up and ramp for some big Chaos Bolts himself. Chun-Li looking to be the target right now, at least for Wealthy Man. Chaos Bolt casted, connects. Touch of Karma, though, instantly by Chun-Li on its damage effect, redirecting the damage back to Chanimal. Chun-Li then switching targets again to Wealthy Man. Gorecki is backing him up, adding some Feral Affinity pressure to try and force an Ice Block. It's looking good to get it. Swiftman denies it for now. It's actually unbelievable. They're not able to get an Ice Block from Wealthy Man. Chanimal still remains a pretty decent target as they got Unending Resolve. Cubsy traded that cooldown on Chanimal to drink and regenerate full mana. So at least they did get a cooldown for the drink of Cubsy. Chun-Li needs to be careful with no Touch of Karma, although Diffuse Magic is very potent in this specific matchup. Chanimal looking for some Chaos Bolts, using Nether Ward to avoid being spell locked, although not really able to get too much damage off the back of it. Thugonomics being interrupted by Wealthy Man. Wealthy Man knows he's in a bit of trouble here out in the midfield, so using his interrupt to stop damage is a high priority. Cubsy sitting down for a drink in the back line, as you can see him there, trying to avoid the Ring of Peace, but inevitably crowd controlled. Chanimal knows that he's the most vulnerable target. He repositions to the pillar to line of sight Thugonomics. Chun-Li will be the only member to attack him. If Thugonomics pushes forward, he's actually going to go for it. Uses the Demonic Gateway to close the gap and potentially close out game number 3 here. Try and put Cloud9 on match point, but Cubsy is there to block it. Yeah, Cubsy's going to be blocking that. He's across the map right now, looking to recover his mana once again. And you can see Wealthy Man midfield, Chanimal midfield as well. They're going to be able to deny Chun-Li and Gorecki from really swapping it up. Big Chaos Bolts coming in from Thugonomics, forcing Wealthy Man to run away once again. They're playing a very defensive playstyle right now. I really feel like what they want to do is just limit Thugonomics. Thugonomics in the last game was able to get out way too much damage with those Chaos Bolts. So if Wealthy Man and Chanimal, they can just focus the spell lock, focus the counter spell on the denial from Thugonomics while just putting a lot of crowd control on Chun-Li. They can limit Chun-Li's damage, also keep Thugonomics as sort of a sitting duck in this matchup. But the boys, they're trying to capitalize on that. They're going to be going after Chanimal, who is overextended in this position. Cubsy very far away, does manage to top off Chanimal. Wealthy Man still just acting like a turret for his team. looking to get very aggressive as Cubsy once again looking to get out of combat, looking to get in cat form, sip on that water, recover that mana. That's going to put them in a great spot as we move towards 20% dampening.
Yeah, it definitely is. Having full mana at this deep of dampening, very important for the Restoration Druids in a matchup like this. Wealthy Man needs to be a bit careful. He's out in midfield, and all three members are teeing off. There's no Iron Bark for a couple of seconds. Big heal from Cubsy, relying on those nourishes, trusting the casted heals, holds on to his ice blocks for a later time. Curious to see where this ends up overwhelming. Who's going to overstep their bounds? Because at any moment, if you overextend, you're going to expose yourself to those Destruction Warlocks, Chaos Bolts, and the game could close in a matter of seconds. Thugonomics interrupted, stuck in midfield. He's the target right now for Cloud9. Greki knows that, activates Iron Bark and saves him. Cloud9 see the defensive Iron Bark and switch targets, attacking Chun-Li, looking to get 2 cooldowns for 1 push, and they do manage to get Touch of Karma, so this is a nice attack by Cloud9. It sets them up with multiple targets to go after in the future.
Yep, Chun-Li very vulnerable now without that Touch of Karma, but he has the Diffused Magic and the Fortifying Brune. He has his portal in a good position, so at any point he could use the Transcendence to escape battle. Wealthy Man with his Icy Veins looking to get Omega aggressive right now onto Chun-Li, putting out big burst damage. Fists of Fury being channeled out on Wealthy Man as he kites away. Chanimal really tearing into Chun-Li right now on 50% health. He has to be a little bit scared. Fortifying Brew might be enough to keep him alive, but Chun-Li on the melee, he's very vulnerable in this situation. Chanimal into a leg sweep. Are they going to be able to get the damage rolling on him? Thugonomics just in a polymorph. Good denial there by Wealthy Man on that setup.
Yep, good denial once again from Cloud9, playing out the map very effectively, and they have the swing match advantage, so even if the boys bring Game 4 to a small map and find victory, Cloud9 can just bring it to Ashen Mains and close the series out. So the boys need a good answer if they can't pull this off here on Tolvaron. This composition may not work for them. They're falling behind in pretty much every regard at this point. Infernals available for each Warlock. These Infernals likely to be the last set in the match, maybe not even necessary. Thugonomics is just blown out, overstepping for even 1 centimeter and falling to the pressure of Cloud9, who now put the boys on match point.
Yep, the sandy dunes of Tolvaron Arena have had many foes of Cloud9 suck into them, and now they are able to pull out another one here. 2-1 is the lead for the team, and was it just the map, or do you think they actually just executed the matchup a bit better here?
I think it's mostly the map, if I'm being honest. On a small map, Chun-Li can be everywhere and nowhere at once, whereas on this map, it's very, very difficult for him to actually reach a target, stay in, and deal a whole bunch of damage. I mean, every time he leaves the pillar, like here, for example, he's getting some counter pressure up on Chanimal, but then immediately, Wealthy Man is just shutting down everybody, and then the counter pressure is coming in, and then Chun-Li is just forced to kind of retreat right away. And this is the theme on this map. Chun-Li has to consistently be aware of, can I stay in for a little bit longer, or do I need to go back? And every time he goes back, well, he has to stay back for a little bit, because if he commits his mobility too much, then he's going to be stuck out in the open. So that's the situation he's trying to avoid. And every time he goes back, there's a swap happening onto Thugonomics. And of course, Thugonomics doesn't have that same Windwalker mobility, so he actually takes a pretty big beating here. Of course, this was the Maledict play here, combined with a new Maledict on that Dispel into the big Chaos Bolt from Chanimal, and that's all it takes.
Yeah, whereas Chun-Li's quite quick, you've got Thugonomics, who's basically stuck in quicksand. He couldn't move at all. He just gets stuck and ends up falling. But now, of course, the map choice will be in favor of the boys. They find themselves still at disadvantage. Most likely, even if they win this Game 4, they'll be taken to a bigger map on Game 5. But, I mean, still, the matchup doesn't look completely unwinnable, and they'll be able to take it to a small map here for Game 4.
Yeah, they will. And my question is Cloud9 going to switch it up? I mean, we haven't really seen them get off the Warlock, Frostmage, Restoration Druid in a really long time, but on the smaller map,
nope.
No, they're not going to.
They're more than happy to just stick with this.
Yeah, I guess they're just going to figure it out. I mean, why fix what's not broken? And so far, they've proven. I mean, the only team that's really been able to beat them in a series so far has been the Mew Mew Kitty Cats, which is, I mean, that was a little bit surprising to me, but hats off to Mew Mew Kitty Cats. Cloud9 now in the lower bracket. This is an elimination series, and like you kind of mentioned, you would not expect these two teams to be going head-to-head. The boys find themselves in a difficult situation right now, as they are just 1 game away from being eliminated from this tournament.
And I mean, this is, theoretically, it could be the best case situation for Method Orange. As you enlisted earlier, Zico, you know, Cloud9 wins this, knocks the boys down. If Method Orange is able to beat M2KC, then M2KC will eventually go against Cloud9 again, and they could do the dirty work for them.
Exactly, and that's kind of what you want. You want either Cloud9 to soak up as many points as possible, or you want them out of the competition as early as possible, and then you want a team that's not that threatening in points, team like M2KC, to kind of take some of those points away. So if the boys end up getting knocked out right here and right now, that alone is going to put Method Orange in a prime position to take some of those points. I believe they're already going to be able to close up 40 points, even if they lose all of their matches. I think they're in top 3 right now. So Method Orange, it's only up for them. If they win their matchup tomorrow, they're going to make it all the way into the grand finals, and all of a sudden, they're just getting a bigger and bigger lead, and they're going to just catch up completely. So that's great for their chances at BlizzCon. However, they still need to win on the small map here first. Definitely could still go in the favor of the boys. I want them to pick the LE Destro again if it goes to a large map. I feel like it could still work. I'm not entirely sold. I feel like we need a bigger sample size before we
just
can
one game.
We can't write off the composition just yet. I feel like they could have played it a little bit differently, felt it out a little bit more, but definitely on the smaller maps they should be using Chun-Li.
Yeah, well, we've talked about the stakes for the bigger scheme of BlizzCon for teams like Method Orange. The stakes for these two teams is that it's the summer season. All of the points for the summer finals qualification are reset, and one of these teams will not be making it to the top 4 in this first cup.
That would be devastating for either team, but of course, pressure in favor now of Cloud9 on match point, but the boys smartly so, bringing it to a small map. I would say maybe the major weakness for the boys' composition on a small map would be Gurecki. He can definitely be swapped to and bursted down. We've seen Cloud9 do that time and time again. I would like to see them employ that strategy facing this composition on Dalaran sewers. Perhaps, though, they can use the bottom part of the map on the outskirts of the square to kite away from Chun-Li and create big gaps and play a similar style to what they just did on Tolvaron. It looks like the boys are actually going for the aggressive strategy, trying to go after Cubsy right off the bat, bursting him down to half, trying to jump to safety. Manages to recover. Good recovery on Cubsy's part, not overextending any significant defensive cooldowns to the initial assault of the boys.
Yep, good start here. There's a double shadow here on the Gurecki, on the Thugonomics. Channel under fire once again. And on the smaller map, we kind of talked about the Windwalker Monk of Chun-Li is going to be able to get out significantly more pressure. Channel just in the face of the boys right now, in the face of danger. Drops down his Infernals, looking to get some damage rolling. While the man Cubsy positioned very far away. The last game we saw Thugonomics fall. Is he going to be the main pressure point once again? Initially, they were going after Chun-Li, but I think they've realized it's better just put control onto the Windwalker Monk. Such a durable target with the low cooldown Fortifying Brew, Diffuse Magic, and Touch of Karma that maybe not the best idea to be consistently going after him, try to limit his damage a little bit more, and then go after Thugonomics. Spam those interrupts out onto his Chaos Bolts, keep him in stun locks, and try to take him down. But that requires a little bit more dampening, unless they can get a really good crowd control chain on a Gurecki. Chun-Li now into a fear. Thugonomics still the main target of choice. Gurecki positioned in cat form right now, moving forward, getting the bash over onto Wealthy Man. Thugonomics lands a big Chaos Bolt. Is he going to be able to land another? Chun-Li getting out of line of sight from any sort of fears from Channel with that Fist of Fury. That was really good positioning to get us some damage, but unfortunately, there's just too much healing from Cubsy, and Wealthy Man easily gets topped off.
Good recovery again by Cloud9. They've got good pressure right now as well onto the boys. The boys need to work on splitting up. If they stack up for even a moment, they get cleaved down by Cloud9's damage. So positioning being compromised could be an opportunity for Cloud9 to close the series out. And once again, the boys, they're technically #1 point standings because Cloud9 has already qualified. Their points are sort of irrelevant overall for the North American teams. So the boys can't afford to lose this early on when their main competition, Method Orange, is in the upper bracket and looking pretty good to potentially take the whole tournament. So Method Orange could pass the boys in points in the summer season if they don't have a good performance here in the first Summer Cup. Thugonomics low on health on match points. Let's see if Gurecki cracks under the pressure. Nope, recovering quite effectively.
Yeah, quite easily. Thugonomics gets topped off, and these Destruction Warlocks paired with the Restoration Druids are just really durable targets. It's going to take a little bit more than that amount of damage to take him down, although he gets taken down to around 50% health, 60% health. The Restoration Druid just has so much single target healing, you can easily top him off. They need the crowd control if they really want to take him down. Thugonomics getting feared up, good control from Channel. Wealthy Man now the main target of choice. Chun-Li putting out lots of pressure. Cubsy moves forward, gets the bash actually onto Thugonomics denying a lot of that incoming damage. Chun-Li finally back on target onto Wealthy Man. Can they force out the first ice block? Counter Chaos Bolts coming in from Chanimal. Both teams putting out massive pressure. If we look at mana, Cubsy and Cloud9, they are a little bit behind, but Cubsy hasn't had the most difficult time so far in these matchups, really recovering his mana. Maybe on this smaller map, as long as Gorecki is paying attention, they can try to deny that drink and develop a mana lead.
It could be one way for them to develop a mana lead, most certainly. But, I mean, it should be so simple on the small map to stop Cubsy from drinking. I really don't think he should ever get one, although he is right now. Gorecki's trying to stop him, jumping across the battlefield, looking to find him. I don't think that he did, though. Cubsy's in the kitty corner, and I believe got full mana. Well done on Cloud9's part. So long as Wealthy Man doesn't need to block, that gives them an advantage.
Yeah, Wealthy Man in a good position right now, avoiding a lot of damage. Paralysis over on the Cubsy. Chun-Li looking to get aggressive, but they just can't find the damage. Chanimal always there to back him up with the fear spam. Leg sweep comes in. Chanimal with the counter fear. Finally, a little bit of damage rolling on a Wealthy Man. Gets the Fist of Fury out. Thugonomics lands the Shadow Fury as well, just trying to get in position, but one strategy adaptation I'm seeing out of Cloud9 is they're limiting Thugonomics damage way more. When we saw in game number 2, he was just posted up at a pillar, able to get out significant amounts of Chaos Bolts, of Fears, but so far in this matchup, it's been a little bit of a different story. Wealthy Man has just been kind of snaring him up, moving out of line of sight. When he finally is in line of sight, he gets Mortal Coil, he gets Spell Lock, and I think that damage denial on Thugonomics is a key strategy change we're seeing out of Cloud9.
Yeah, it is a key strategy indeed. Dampening has now just started between the teams and will inevitably close the match out as it reduces incoming healing on all members in the match, certainly to a point where it could reach 100%. The way that this game is going, we may have a dampening record broken unless one of the teams decides to go for an aggressive push soon. Cloud9 still, though, are on match point, so it's up to the boys to be able to pull off a victory. There's much more pressure against them at the moment, and because they weren't able to stop Cubsy from drinking, they're at a disadvantage. They try and set up a swap. They try and set up the miracle kill onto Cubsy, but he is able to wild charge to Wealthy Man, who saves him with a polymorph on Chun-Li. Once again, great support on the side of Cloud9.
Yep. Good support. Cubsy in a good position to also get away and try to recover some of his mana. Rake stun now onto Chanimal. He's actually overextended quite a bit. Drops out the Infernal. He wants to get counter pressure. This is an intelligent decision. So Chanimal, he drops out his Infernals when he's under fire, but he's still low. There's great pressure coming in from Chun-Li and Thugonomics. Cubsy may have sat down for too much of a drink. Ultimately does recover all of his mana. If he can recover Chanimal, obviously it's going to be worth it, and he does manage to do so. That was a risky play, but pays off for Cloud9. That 9% dampening, this is where you want to start having full mana as the game goes on. It's much more difficult to sit down for a drink as you have to spend a lot more time healing up your teammates. Double Mortal Coil coming in from Chanimal onto Chun-Li and Gorecki. Good counter pressure right now. Chun-Li does manage to shrug a lot of that off with the Fortifying Brew. His portal's in a good position too. That Transcendence location. At any time, you can use Transcendence to portal away to safety of those boxes. Gorecki now getting stunned up. Big all-in attempt here from the team of Cloud9, but unfortunately, Wealthy Man and Chanimal weren't there to really follow up the damage. Ring of Peace keeping Wealthy Man locked down into the fight. Thugonomics teeing off with the Chaos Bolt. Wealthy Man getting a little bit low, but he still has both of his ice blocks, and Wealthy Man has been able to hold on to these crucial defensive cooldowns consistently throughout this game. If we look at mana, Gorecki still doing a great job at around 80% mana. Cubsy falling even more behind, even though he was able to recover so much of his mana through that drink just a short while ago. There's been so much significant pressure from the boys that they've been really taxing his mana.
Although I think that it's mostly due to the Mortal Strike effect that the Windwalker Monk brings into the arena that Cloud9 don't have at their disposal. Cloud9, of course, bringing a lot more crowd control to their advantage, so perhaps if they can isolate a target long enough, they could find victory. Chanimal in trouble. The boys looking to take this to game 5. Chun-Li going for the kill. He knocks Chanimal off the side. Cubsy gets crowd control. Chun-Li single-handedly making the push. Can he finally get the kill onto Chanimal, now at 18% dampening, stunning 2 targets. Big positioning mistake by Cloud9, but Wealthy Man again trying to take control of Chun-Li. The polymorphs are going to be more than enough. He stabilizes. Thugonomics now being targeted down. It's Gorecki who needs to look to recover, although looks to be easily doing so as both teams are playing in the efflorescences of each other's druids. A lot of effective healing from that with the Spring Blossoms talent. Mana actually in favor of Cubsy, so I mean, there's actually a good chance that Cloud9 can just close this out soon if the boys don't do something.
Yeah, Thugonomics repositioning behind the pillar. Gorecki going for a drink. What is Chanimal going to be able to get done? Wealthy Man caught in some damage here. Decent counter pressure coming in from Chanimal. He's trying to back up Wealthy Man in the situation. Gorecki moving forward, finally landing some heals. Big Chaos Bolt on Chun-Li. It's a bit of a scary moment. Fortifying Brew gets traded out, overlapped with the Iron Bark, and both of those damage reductions together are going to make Chun-Li just such a tank in this matchup. But once those fade, you're not going to have those crucial defensives. Chun-Li going to be a little bit vulnerable here. Thugonomics repositioning to a good spot, trying to get some damage rolling on Chanimal. Chanimal trying to reposition even further away. Does manage to do so. Chun-Li gets Vortex back, has to activate the Diffuse Magic. Gorecki uses a lot of mana to top him off as well, but now the boys can finally start getting some pressure rolling.
Now the boys can look to push for victory and take this to a game number 5 and keep their tournament lives here. They face elimination, but pressure is actually snowballing a bit in favor of Cloud9. 3 members softened up, and Cloud9 could go after any of them at this point. Infernals just ready and waiting. Perhaps the end of the game, perhaps the last set of Infernals. Both Chaos Bolts being casted onto both Chun-Li and Wealthy Man. Chun-Li deciding to switch targets to Chanimal, pull away from the fight, but the more they pull away and stack up, the more damage all 3 members will take. This is a critical error to stack up on that point.
No.
And Chanimal is shutting it down. Big punish from Chanimal. He looks to close. Gorecki gets bashed up. Thugonomics looks to reverse, but his team is under so much pressure. Chun-Li is trying to sneak a kill in despite his team being basically dead. Can Chun-Li sneak the kill on Chanimal before Thugonomics falls? Chanimal recovers. Both teams recover in this position. Close call.
That was a panic moment for Wealthy Man. Thugonomics was so low on hit points, but Thugonomics just counter-pressured beautifully with his Infernals, with his Dark Soul. Was going to eventually take down Chanimal with those Chaos Bolts. Wealthy Man had basically had no choice but to spam out Polymorphs. It would have been way too risky. And now Wealthy Man, he's actually traded out the Ice Block. Things are looking better and better for the boys. Cloud9, of course, does have a little bit of a mana lead. Thugonomics has really no defensive cooldowns left. Neither does Chun-Li while he has the Diffuse Magic. So Chun-Li is actually doing quite well, but Thugonomics a vulnerable target with no ending resolve for quite some time and 34% dampening. This is when we're going to see Cloud9 really start focusing on just interrupting Thugonomics, making him a vulnerable target, keeping the snares up on him, and just basically he's going to be a sitting duck that Wealthy Man and Chanimal can tee off on.
Yeah, he definitely will be. And at this point, I mean, you've got still one more Ice Block, you've got full mana. If you're Cloud9, you're actually pretty comfortable here on match point in this situation, which I was expecting to be one-sided in favor of the boys. So this is definitely a commanding position, now reaching 40% dampening. And once again, stacking up for Chanimal to punish. Chanimal taking advantage of this poor positioning time and time again, softening 3 targets up, potentially for a big push. Thugonomics is taking the brunt of it. He's still choosing to just stand out in the open. Needs to be careful. Might want to look to line of sight. Trying to toss out some Chaos Bolts and kill Chanimal. Sneak in a kill.
Ooh.
Maybe they can get it here. They use Iron Bark to stabilize. Wealthy Man is soloing Thugonomics. Gorecki struggling.
Yeah, keep in mind, Thugonomics is actually using the Honor Talent to empower his Chaos Bolt. When it does land, it drops a little green pool on the ground. That is a massive healing reduction effect. I think it's a 50% reduced healing, so you have to be very careful. If Chun-Li can keep someone locked down with that, it's going to be massive healing reduction, but Thugonomics is the one that's in trouble. Double Mortal Coil comes in. Thugonomics with no defense left. Gorecki does manage to get the Iron Bark, but it's not enough. Cloud9 takes down the boys 3-1. Fortunately for the boys, they will be eliminated from this tournament.
That's 43% dampening it took them to kill Thugonomics there. I think both these healers like really showing off their caliber, able to completely, I mean, not only were they able to heal through it, they healed through it easily for a long period of that time. They were both completely resetting their drinks, getting drinks for their mana constantly throughout the game. But in the end, it was actually Cloud9 that was able to win that, even on the smaller map. What did you think of that game, Zico?
Well, I guess you were right. They did learn the matchup, clean it up a bit in that 12-round game, and in this particular game, it looked like the boys had the advantage. But I think a big reason for the momentum shift was that we just had Wealthy Man and Chanimal stay out in the open a lot more than they previously did, and they just try to control Chun-Li more. Whenever Chun-Li had his defensives open, they would polymorph him like they did here. And I mean, right there, if Chun-Li isn't in a poly there, Chanimal is going to be in big trouble. And of course, they rotate that with the fear spam as well. And then by the time Chun-Li actually gets out of here, they have the pressure again. Nice interrupts here on Gorecki as well, allowing them to get that pressure, allowing them to actually secure the kill here in the end. Combine that with the Maledict, with the Mortal Coils as well. And at this point, it's just too hard to recover if you are Gorecki, and Thugonomics falls.
Yeah, and that's one of the first times I think ever, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think there was a single time in the spring season where the boys didn't make it, at least to Sunday, to the top 4. Might be wrong about that, but at least these guys were very consistent throughout the season, right? They were always getting, you know, second, third places throughout the season. And now, if we have a look at the bracket, we'll see that we are saying goodbye to one of the top teams, quite frankly, in North America throughout the year. They will be eliminated. They lost to M2KC earlier in the day, and now they've lost to Cloud9 3-1 in both of those occasions. And this sets up an opportunity, as we've talked about, for Method Orange, and we'll talk much more about that tomorrow, since they will be playing in Sunday's bracket against M2KC.